Hello, and welcome to our series of brief informational videos aimed at providing background on PPMD's advocacy efforts over the years and some of what has been yielded from those efforts with working with Congress. I am Ryan Fisher, Chief Advocacy Officer of PPMD. This is the first in a series of short videos aimed at providing you with more background on Duchenne advocacy. Whether you are advocating for the first time with us this year or you've participated in the past, we hope these videos are helpful as we get ready for the virtual fly-in on March 10th. So I just want to begin with really how PPMD was formed in 1994. As most of you know, PPMD was founded by a small group of parents led by Pat Furlong, a mother of two sons, Christopher and Patrick, who were diagnosed with Duchenne in the 80s. And the doctor told her when delivering the diagnosis that there was essentially no help and no hope, and to go home and love your children. There's nothing you can do. So that day, Pat really dedicated her life to the cause, refusing to accept the notion of no hope, no help. And that's what PPMD has been founded on, with one goal in mind: to end Duchenne. And after receiving the diagnosis, Pat began to look for answers, researching what was happening in Duchenne care and drug development. She wanted to learn what was being done. And unfortunately, what she learned was the severe lack of investment overall, and that critical missing pieces necessary to enable drug development and improve care were missing. And here is a visual of those pieces. We didn't have natural history data. We had very limited federal funding, no standards of care, no biomarkers, certainly no companies, no organized advocacy effort. And we knew we needed something pretty substantial to really have a paradigm shift in Duchenne overall. So along the way, Pat met a father by the name of Joel Wood, who had recently received a diagnosis for his son. And Joel happened to be a lobbyist in Washington and knew the landscape, and he knew how Congress worked. So together, we worked with several members of Congress to craft the first ever piece of legislation focused on muscular dystrophy called the MDCARE Act. The bill was pretty straightforward. It did three very specific things. It mandated that the National Institutes of Health fund and establish centers of excellence to really fund research for those early promising ideas and hopefully get them into therapies and clinical testing. It established the very first data and tracking surveillance program at the CDC so we could better understand the number of people with Duchenne in the US and collect other health information. And finally, it created the Muscular Dystrophy Coordinating Committee, which would link together all the federal agencies that touch Duchenne and ultimately have to create an action plan for the muscular dystrophies. So the bill was reauthorized in 2008. We worked with Congress again to update the legislation so it could reflect the progress we made since 2001. And for the first time ever, we mandated that care considerations be developed in partnership with CDC and advocacy to better standardize how care would be delivered. The bill built on the MD-StarNet program from the first bill, expanded the data that would be collected, and at the NIH, we added institutes, heart, lung, and blood, because as we all know, these are critical, and the heart is a muscle too. In 2014, additional amendments were added as well, expanding care considerations to adults because the lifespan had increased due to advancements in care. The 2014 bill also mandated that MD-StarNet share with the other federal agencies what they were learning. And the bill expanded the efforts at NIH for huge areas of unmet need, like cardiopulmonary and endocrinology. So in short, this has been a game changer and ushered in private investment from drug companies. More importantly, the results of improved care has led to an increase in lifespan. And here you see some of those results, along with those incredible figures about lifespan and companies. Over $600 million have been invested by the federal government, which is pretty remarkable. We have a robust pipeline for approved therapies, we know that there's more work to do, and that's why we continue to go to Washington. In our next video, we're going to take a deeper dive into some of the programs of the MDCARE Act and talk about how they get funded.